So we start. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin wa afdalu salati wa atamu taslim ala Sayyidina Muhammad Rasulihil Kalim as-sahwati min al-abadi wa shafi'il halaki wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma faqihna fi ad-din wa alimna tawhid waj'alna min khayrati ummati Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi afdalu salati wa atamu taslim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hopefully everyone had a good break last week. Okay, I think I don't know. Yes. Okay, so today's lesson is just a one-off on, as we're in the month of Rajab, and we're getting close to, well, I think it was, today's probably the 23rd, after Maghrib will be 24th. I think it's Friday evening after Maghrib is when it's 27th of Rajab. And according to famous opinions is that the night journey, Al-Isra wal-Miraj, took place then on 27th Rajab, and it is a blessed, blessed 24-hour period. That's what we put it down as, a blessed 24-hour period. And I'll give you my view actually, because I know there is a lot of that time when you come out with all to fast, etc., and all that. There's definitely, it's a blessed time. So for someone to fast, definitely you inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you reward on that. So that whole period, whatever you do, you'll be getting extra reward. To say specifically, I'm going to get this much reward, that much reward, I'm yet to come across anything that says that specifically. I mean, think about it. We've got Muharram, and when we talk about the time when the fast that we have for Ashura fast, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Prophet Musa alayhi salam Fir'aun, that's like a celebration, and that's a blessed time, and we fast 2 days then. And this is the night where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam met his Lord, or met Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, how much of a celebration is that? And the fact that we're gifted the prayers. Okay, but so it's definitely a blessed period, and I would recommend good acts. And if that means fasting, and if you're able to fast, then definitely make an effort to do that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the reward for it. Okay, so generally speaking, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would make dua when Rajab would enter. Now we're coming to the end of it, but when Rajab would enter, and dua was Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa balighna Ramadan, which is like obviously get through Rajab and Sha'ban, and give us the ability to see through coming to Ramadan. Generally speaking, that's what it is. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago as well, is that Rajab is almost when the bells should start ringing to say, look, Ramadan is around the corner. So we need to start preparing for it. And now, obviously, time is ticking. Before you know it, trust me, before you know it, it's going to be like, oh, Ramadan's starting next week. And then there's all this panic. And most of the time, the panic is that we haven't made enough samosas, which is probably not good. I seriously believe that you should go through one Ramadan and don't make any samosas. This fried food and all that, see how that goes. I think it'd be awesome. So someone needs to be brave and make that effort, because it gets a bit out of hand, I reckon, personally. But yeah, I am quite bad when it comes to food anyway. Everyone knows that. But, okay, moving on. Otherwise, I'm going to spend about 15-20 minutes on food. So Abu Bakr, Waraka, may Allah be pleased with him, said that Rajab is a month of cultivation. Shaban is a month of irrigating the fields, and the month of Ramadan is a month of reaping and harvesting. That's the way it's described. And the month of Rajab is a sacred month. I think it's the first sacred month. There's 4 sacred months in the Islamic calendar, and you got Rajab and the 3 consecutive months, which is Dhul Hajj and Muharram. These are the sacred months, and these were sacred before Islam came about. So these were known as sacred months. Even the in Jahiliyat, the Quraysh, or the Arabs there at that time, they knew that these were sacred months, and they had set rules in place. So you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. Now, even though those times they were sacred then as well. So moving on to what today's topic is on Al-Isra wal-Miraj, the night journey. And Al-Isra is the night journey, while Miraj is the ascension to the heavens, heavenly ascent. So that's how we're going to kind of deal with it. You first got the night journey, and then you got the ascent that takes place. And it's one of the greatest nights of the year, which carries one of the most important events of our deen, of Islam. And it's an amazing event. I sincerely believe that it's so downplayed. What took place in this night is just amazing. And we talk about uh, superheroes, etc., and this thing happened, that thing happened. All you're going to do is, right, you want to tell a story to your kids, is you tell the story of the night journey in detail. You tell them the story and see what takes place in that. You don't have to make up, oh, this superhero does this and does this, and this event took place, that event took place. You got everything there in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. The best superhero there. And we should know stuff like that. We, as a bare minimum, we should know major thing about the Prophet ﷺ, born in Makkah. Born in Makkah, some of the major miracles that took place, and we should know stuff like this. It is important. Why the night journey is important and why it's a blessed time is it gives us an opportunity to speak about it, especially we have the opportunity to talk about the beloved. We have the opportunity to talk about the beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Allah brought us, best human being, Allah brought guidance to us through him, brought mercy to the world through him. That's something very important. When we get together on such nights, the purpose of it is to honor the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is what it is. It's honoring the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And by honoring the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we're actually benefiting ourselves, because honoring the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is ibadat. And that's commanded in the Quran. So by honoring the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we're actually benefiting ourselves. It's not like we're benefiting the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His rank is there among, in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're not going to change that. We're trying to benefit ourselves by honoring him. And it's a command, it's an ibadah, it's a command given in the Quran. Again, going back to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, no human was created more beautiful. No human was the best character. He was a perfect human being that was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can say no human and then add in whatever you want to kind of honor him. He's the best in that, in every way possible. These are facts. These are facts that you can't deny. These are facts, and I wouldn't let people, and I've said it a number of times, I let people come out with this terminology of don't praise him too much. I'm going to come across to it, and it's a good time actually. And I remember when I was reading it, right, it feels so good when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praising the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praising the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praising the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You're trying to say to me that you can praise the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam too much, more than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can praise the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No, it's not possible. You don't need anything else. You don't need any other dalil, etc. Just take that as a simple thing, and that's it. There's nothing else you need. You can come out with so many other things, or what about this, what about that, but we read the Quran and we use words from the Quran to praise Allah. Why? Because they're the best words, and because they're the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using words to praise the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you think we have the ability to even reach a percentage of that? No, we don't. Okay, so bear that in mind. Obviously, we distinguish the Quran being one of the greatest miracles. We just put that aside. Obviously, apart from that, Al-Isra wal-Miraj is one of the greatest miracles. It's one of the unique miracles. So there's certain unique miracles that were given to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as in, say, splitting of the moon. It's a unique miracle. The Quran, we just mentioned the Quran, it's a unique miracle. Isra wal-Miraj, the night journey and essentially the heavens, that's a unique miracle. Okay, no other prophet was given this. No other human being will be given this. By body and soul together. This is the important part. Body and soul together. The ascension, the Mi'raj. The Mi'raj can take place for us, but it would only be in soul. No one else will have the privilege of having the Mi'raj taking place with body and soul. That was only for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. People have the ability, the awliya or the high rank people. They have the ability to have Mi'raj taking place, but by soul only. That's the difference there. Okay. And when you talk about miracles, Imam Subki relates 30 types of other miracles that can take place at the hands of others. So to honor them, if they are, you got awliya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honors them by giving them miracles. To help them if they are true Muslims, you have certain Muslims that are giving certain miracles. You know, something that happens. There's different levels of miracles, different types of miracles. Something that happens that you're amazed, oh, how did that happen? It can go down to that low level and go up to something like something major. In the books and especially in our teachers that we've described and their teachers have described, and the hands of Allah, some great miracles take place. It's amazing. I mean, to du'as, dead have been brought to alive, and this is the important part here. And the reason why we know that it's known as karamat, but when it comes for awliya, it's known as karamat. When we hear things like that, we be shocked and we think, surely that can't be possible. Okay, let's take a story from, let's take an example from the night journey, since we're talking about it. Seeing that Abu Bakr Siddiq, when the Prophet ﷺ returned and they thought, okay, this is the opportunity, they went to Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq. No, see what your friend's saying. What you say now? He didn't say, oh, but what did he say then? Oh, did he mean this? Oh, did he actually say these words? Straight away, he just said, if he said it, I believe him. And that's when he was given the title of being Siddiq. From that was where he was given the title. It's opportunity for us. When certain good things are said about someone, you say it's possible. When certain good things are said about someone, you say it's possible. Even if it's a bad person. Because you're telling me that Allah, well, I'm being a bit harsh here, but you know, it's like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives everyone the ability. There's no denying that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to give someone the ability, then a miracle needs to take place. But what we're saying is that it's possible. Straight away, you know, you don't rush to denying it. It's our kind of little step to being a Siddiq as well. You know, that's our little step. I mean, we're not going to get there, but it gives us an opportunity to kind of replicate something like that. So don't jump to conclusions, oh, this is impossible, or that is impossible. So many things are possible. And one of the things why I mentioned about the only given ability to bring dead to alive is because that's what happens when the Dajjal comes. He'll bring a dead person back to life. And if we don't know the fact that it's possible, what would we think? It's got to be God. Only God can bring dead to life. You understand, these stories need to be told because people need to be aware. The children need to be made aware that this is possible. When the Dajjal comes, he will bring someone dead back to life. And it's possible. And that is, you know, okay, it's possible. You shouldn't be surprised and say, oh, he put someone back to life. Surely he's God. That's why these little things are important, and we should mention them more and more. Why am I kind of talking about these kind of things? Because it's going to be, and the reason why I'm starting off on things like this is that it's difficult for us to understand. Because when I'm going to turn around and start describing about the night journey, this is what happened, this is what happened, it goes into your mind and thinking, oh, that sounds a bit, whoa, how did that happen? What I'm trying to get to is, look, all of these things are possible. Okay, all of this is possible. Remember, because everything is created by Allah. And when He wants to disrupt the cause, He'll disrupt it. The knife doesn't cut naturally, but without the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because we see the example of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. I'm not going to relate to it. Everyone knows the famous story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. The knife was in the command that you can't cut the throat of his son, Prophet Ismail alayhi salam. Without the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing is possible. So something could be disrupted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will disrupt something naturally, and that's when we talk about miracles taking place. Final point, actually, before we move on to it, then, is specifically the ayah that is mentioned of in the Quran of Isra wal Miraj, and it's mentioned that we've taken our servant. The word why is servants used here? You know, in terms of praising the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's so many other words that are used throughout the Quran. Why is servant used? It's because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam qualified to the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What he's with his full servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he was given that, he reached that level, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then honored him with this. The highest rank in the journey of wilayat is to be a true abd, a true servant. That's what we need to try to kind of adapt to, being a true servant. Was it, they spoke about, I don't know if any of you you might probably hear the name, they've come to our mosque a few times as well, Sheikh Bibadin. And who was teaching in Yemen. Amazing person. And they said, what's so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed him so much. What's so special about them? Says, during the day, they'd be teaching these big, big books and great, great literature, great, great scriptures. And at night, they'd be washing their students' clothes, washing the toilet, cleaning the mosque, like that. That's what they'd be doing at night. So they're benefiting both. They're serving the students by day, we're giving them deen, and serving them at night as well in the worldly affair. And they haven't got that pride of saying, "Oh, I'm gonna wash this person's clothes. I'm not gonna clean toilets." You get so much. It's amazing. This is it. And I'm not gonna kind of embarrass them by mentioning names, but within the room, people that clean toilets in the mosque, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed them so much and given the opportunity to clean out the mosque. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them so much because it is an effort, week in, week out, coming in, cleaning the mosque. Most people will just kind of leave rubbish and then move on. That's it. We don't care. The mosque is an important place and you need to treat it better than your house, clean it better than your house. Okay, so moving on to the night journey itself now. What we're gonna do is we're gonna speak for inshallah about 20 minutes, and it's Maghrib. We're going to break from Maghrib for about 5-10 minutes quickly, and then we'll continue after that as well. So bring a bit of background. Within that year, the Prophet ﷺ's uncle, Abu Talib, passed away. He was a big protector. He saved him or protected him in a lot of things. He was the barrier there between all those that were after the Prophet ﷺ. He would always stand there and say, "I'm with my nephew." Okay. Same year, his beloved wife, Khadija, she passed away. Yeah, he had the event of Taif. We went to Taif to do dawah, and they stoned him. They stoned him. He was bleeding so much that his sandals filled with blood. He would walk. He would collapse so that because he was just absolutely exhausted, and they had injured him so much. So what they would do, they would lift him up, push him along, carry on going, and then continue stoning him and send children on, after him, etc. And when the Prophet ﷺ was asked, he said that was probably one of the worst times when he went to Taif. That was probably one of my worst times. Coming about all this, when you have these events that you're struggling so much, everything's going wrong, and then something good happens, you feel it a lot better. You feel it a lot more. You appreciate it a lot more. So all the bad stuff that's been happening to the Prophet ﷺ, right? Then he's gonna have this almost, going completely literally shoot up skies and have this event, the night journey, which is an amazing journey that takes place, and that coming from all the bad that's taking place to oblivion, it has that so much more of an impact there. Okay, so quick thing I want to mention here, and I spoke about this when I did a lecture on or the lesson on Journey of the Soul, and we talked about Judgment Day. When in the spiritual cosmology, you've got Mulk, which is the physical world, which is our world here. You got Malakut, which is the realm of the unseen, and then you got Jabarut, which is the realm of which the attributes of God have a direct effect rather than an indirect effect. So this is where people struggle to understand. And one way of understanding it, the planes of existence, is a good way of understanding this. That you can say overlaying. Okay, so here is I'm here in the Mulk, and there's the equivalent of me or whatever's happening in Malakut. Our souls, they are in Malakut. Okay, understood that? No. All right, let me mention it another way. You got a telephone box. Yeah, you got a telephone box. Within a telephone box, right, you can only have one person can be in a telephone box. For a telephone box, you need coordinates. You know coordinates, longitude and latitude. You all know what that is, isn't it? So someone gives you coordinates, and there's a certain point. Here you go. That's where the telephone box is. Only one person is allowed there. Is that the case that only one person is allowed in that telephone box? Based on those coordinates, no one else can be in that telephone box. Is that right? Yeah? Well, there is a way, because what you got to understand is if there's a telephone box on top of a telephone box on top of a telephone box, you can have a lot more people, can't you? This is what you need to imagine. So you got a flat surface, you got a single point, only one person allowed there. The only way you can put additional people there is put them on top of each other. Everyone follow me up to that point, yeah? That's one way of looking at mulk and malakut. It's almost like another world overlaid on top, but a world that we can't see. So when we spoke about the jinn and the unseen, they're here, but you're thinking, well, the jinn are here, why can't we see them? It's almost like an overlaid layer of another world. That's what it is. Malakut is another world on top. And that's what helps you to understand, okay, there's another world, but the way it works is that higher dimensions can interact with lower dimensions, but not vice versa. So someone from the Malakut can interact with someone from the Mulk. But from the Mulk, you can't interact with Malakut. So that's why when you go to the graveyard, so Barzakh, that's in the Malakut. Barzakh is the Malakut. When we spoke about Barzakh and the graves and all that, that's Malakut. That's all about the Malakut world. So when you go into, we know that when we go to the graves, Hadith, Prophet ﷺ, when you go there, they hear better than you. When you go and give salam, they hear, they reply to your salam. But then why can't we hear them? Because they're in the Malakut. They can hear you, you can't hear them. You're in a lower dimension, they're in a higher dimension. Okay? You understand? Now everyone got there, yeah? So this, when we talk about this night journey taking place, etc., things that are taking place, things that are happening, it's Malakut. It's a different dimension, it's a different world. Okay, that's what we can't understand, we can't see it, whatever it is. Kashf, Kashf, when we talk about this Kashf of great people, that's what Kashf is about. It's about bringing down the veils between Mulk and Malakut. Sometimes these awliya Allah, etc., they can see into Malakut. Allah gives them the ability to see into Malakut, and that's how certain things take place. Okay? Everyone confused? That's good. Let's move on then. So as I mentioned, no prophet. We're going to move straight into the Islamic Miraj. I'm going to go through what took place on the day now. The night journey. Okay? So, like I mentioned before, no prophet has been given this journey. And according to scholars, actually time stopped. Time stopped, therefore no one saw it. Time stopped because the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about when he returned, it's mentioned that his bed was still warm, but it was almost like a few seconds had passed. But he's gone through a big journey, so the scholars say the time stopped. What I'm going to do is this good book here. So it's been done well. So at times I'm just going to read straight out of the book, which I think is really good. If anyone wants it, it's called The Prophet's Night Journey and Heavenly Ascent. Sayyid Muhammad ibn Alawi al-Maliki. That's the book. Anyone wants it? Okay. See it on the YouTube. Have a look at it. But yeah, look at that. I'll show you guys as well. Guys, it's a good book. I've just added more stuff to it, basically. Most of the time I'm going to do that, and then I did a few more things into it. First of all, what's described is that the Prophet, there's two narrations. What the book does is it picks out different narrations and bring them together. So there's two narrations. One is that the Prophet ﷺ was resting at the Kaaba, Al-Hijr. Al-Hijr is, you got the Kaaba, you've got that additional kind of semicircle, which was actually part of the Kaaba. But because of less money, they weren't able to complete it like that. So then it was made into like a cube. So that part is actually known as being part of the Kaaba. Okay. And the narration, one of the narrations is the Prophet ﷺ is resting there. There between two men, and the two men was one of his uncle, Sayyidina Hamza, and the other one was his cousin, Sayyidina Jafar. Yes, Sayyidina Jafar. And two angels come, Jibreel and Mikael came to him. And another narration is there's a third angel. The third angel is Israfil. And they take him away. And the other narration is that they came and they lifted the roof of my house. They lifted the roof of my house and then they entered the house. That's what the second narration is. But I want to mention both of them so people know, look, there's different narrations, but the point is that they did come. Okay? So to take the Prophet ﷺ away, and what they're going to do is they're going to do surgery. They're going to cut open his chest, blessed chest. And they cut open his blessed chest from his throat down to his belly button. And some of the description that were given of the Prophet ﷺ talk about, when the Sahaba describe his chest, they talk about a thin line there, which is indication of when the chest is open. And the famous opinion is that the chest was opened 4 times. One was when he was at 4 years old, when he was with Halima, and she got all scared. And then obviously she took him back to his mother. The second one was at the age of 10. The third one was at the time of prophethood, 40 years old. And the fourth one is in the night journey. There is also an opinion of it being a fifth one as well, but the famous one is that there was 4 occasions. So they take him away and they split open his chest, and they take out and they wash it with Zamzam. And the narration is that it happens 3 times. So Angel Michael goes away, gets a vessel with Zamzam water, wash the heart, goes away, gets some more Zamzam water, they wash the heart, goes away the 3rd time. 3 times it takes place and the heart's washed. And then they talk about putting into his chest hilm, which is known as intelligence, forbearance, gentleness, and good character. That's like almost poured into the Prophet ﷺ's chest, and then it's sealed back up. There's an opinion that at this point is that every person has this black dot on their heart, this black dot on their heart, and apart from Prophet Isa Islam. And there's opinion is that at this point is when that portion was taken out for the Prophet ﷺ. And some of the scholars' opinion is that that was a portion that on Judgment Day, when the shaitan is going to see that the Prophet ﷺ is doing dua for everyone or asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for mercy for everyone, he's going to also approach. And then the nature of the Prophet ﷺ is to obviously then be merciful and ask for mercy for everyone. But when this part's taken out, so then the shaitan doesn't even have the ability to do that. Okay.
Why only Prophet Isa?
See, I don't know. I need to look into that. But apparently, the only one was Prophet Isa. Maybe it's because of Prophet Isa's miracle birth, etc. That's probably what the reason is. But I haven't really looked into it. But the opinion is that it was Prophet Isa was the only other one that did not have that. Okay.
The Prophet Moses had a black dot.
Yeah, and this is one of the opinions is that this is taken out at this point. Okay, so obviously from this point onward he doesn't have one, but he did have one. Okay. Okay, then the burak is bought, and the burak is a handsome face and bridle, a tall white beast, bigger than the donkey but smaller than the mule. That's the description of the burak. He could place his hooves at the farthest boundary of his gaze. He had long ears. Whenever he faced a mountain, his hind legs would extend. Whenever he went down, his front legs would extend. So he had wings as well. Okay. So when he would be climbing a mountain, based on if he's climbing a mountain, his front legs will probably extend. If it's descending, then based on how it'd be easy, the front or back legs will extend to make that kind of ride a lot smoother. Yet, like I said, he had 2 wings on his thighs, which lent strength to his legs. When he was brought to the Prophet ﷺ, he started to buckle a bit. He got all nervous. And that's when Angel Jibreel put his hand on his and said, "Are you not ashamed, O Burak? By Allah, none has mounted you in all creation, dearer to Allah than he." And hearing this, he starts sweating a bit, Burak did. But finally, he stood still for the Prophet ﷺ to mount it. And his opinion is that there are different buraks, and the prophets ride buraks. So you had Prophet Ibrahim ﷺ, who would visit his second wife. It was all the way in Mecca where he left. He would visit on the burak. The other opinion is that he would visit on the cloud, which I'm going to talk about a bit later. Okay, so there's different opinions here. One is that I'm pretty sure I've come across one is that it was the cloud known Ruff, the cloud. That kind of what's that? One of my favorite cartoons, Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, yeah, Dragon Ball Z had he used to have that cloud go over all the place on the cloud. This is it. Okay.
There's a story about the Burak, how he was chosen.
Yeah, there is. It was one of the weakest amongst a whole lot of Burak. It was one of the weakest, but then obviously when the Prophet ﷺ got onto it, it became one of the strongest, and the Buraks and all that. There are so many, actually, be honest with you. You can go into so much detail. But as we've only got an hour, and that's shortened by the 10 minutes because of Maghrib, so I probably need to speed up a bit, actually, because I haven't even started it, and we're halfway through the lesson. Okay, so moving on. It's mentioned here as well, actually. The other prophet used to mount the Burak before. Sa'd ibn al-Musul said, it is a beast of Ibrahim alayhi salam, which he used to mount whenever he traveled to the sacred house. Okay, so from here, the Burak obviously travels in lightning speed. So the Burak sets off at the lightning speed. And the first place the Prophet ﷺ is taken, and the angel Jibreel tells the Prophet ﷺ to get off here and pray 2 cycles of prayer. And he asks him, do you know what this place is? You prayed in Taiba, a land of pastures, and the migration will take place here. So what was that at that point called Yathrib? Okay, a place of, he's called Yathrib because it was a place of disease. It was a place of disease. But when the Prophet ﷺ entered, the narrations are the Prophet ﷺ entered and it was almost like a black smoke went away. So the disease went away. Okay, and this is the first place that it was taken with Yathrib, the migration will take place. The next one was, and again, go on the Burak, lightning speed, go to next place. Next place is the Prophet ﷺ is told to dismount and pray, is the tree of Musa. The tree of Musa, the tree under which Musa rested from fatigue and hunger during the flight from Firaun, is the tree of Musa. And again, I'm going to try to kind of speed up a bit, but this takes place again. So they set off again, and then another place comes along, and the angel Jibreel tells the Prophet ﷺ to also pray here. And the next place is Mount of Sinai, where Allah addressed Musa alayhi salam. You know, the place where Allah addressed Musa alayhi salam, actually spoke to Musa alayhi salam. Musa alayhi salam obviously came to that point, and that's where the next prayer was done. And then they set off again. And again, same thing happened. They came to a place, and the Prophet ﷺ is told to pray here as well. And this time, the place is Bethlehem, so Bethlehem, where the Prophet Isa ﷺ was born. And some actually use this as a delil as well. When it comes to Mawlids and all that, I'm thinking that what's so special about a place where Prophet Isa ﷺ was born? So you can take this as that. Prophet ﷺ is taken to a place where Prophet Isa ﷺ was born and told to pray 2 rakats there. Why do we pray 2 rakats? You know, why do we pray? We're thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why would you need to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Isa ﷺ being born here. That's where I'm trying to get to, without trying to go into too much detail. Okay? And then the encounters take place where a jinn tries to get close to the Prophet ﷺ, and Angel Jibreel kind of gives them a dua to read, and it's a long dua kind of thing, so I'm not going to go into it. But like I said, if you want to get hold of the book, you've got stuff in there, and you can read it yourself. I'm just trying to whiz through as best as possible. Then there is, and I'm not going to do it, but there's certain events that take place on this journey now. Certain events take place where they're kind of scary, because it's like these people are being punished, etc., for this that's happening. And the Prophet ﷺ is asking why is this, and they used to do this in this world, they used to do that in that world. So there is a lot of times actually where there's punishments I spoke about. So just to give this example here, every time they reap, they travel until they reach the people who sowed in a day and reaped in a day. Every time they reap, their harvest would be replenished as before. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Oh Jibreel, why is this?" He replied, "These are this is specifically, there's good things as well. So this one specifically is talking about a good thing. So al-mujahideen, those who strive in the path of Allah, the exalted. Al-mujahideen it doesn't just mean you're going off and fighting. You fight. There are other ways of being a mujahid, striving, fighting for certain things, worldly things, etc. Against worldly things. There are other ways. Every good deed of theirs is multiplied for them 700 times, and whatever they spend returns multiplied. And then the Prophet ﷺ noticed a fragrant wind, and then asked Jibreel who this is. And he replied, "This is the scent of the lady who combed the hair of Firaun." So I'm going to quickly mention about the story. There's this is mentioned about there's 4 occasions. There's different opinion of if there's more than that. There's 4 occasions where the baby spoke. A child spoke. Obviously, we got Prophet Isa alayhi salam as a baby spoke. When his mother just pointed, you know what? It's I'll carry on after prayer, because it's prayer time. I don't want to cut my story in half. Yeah. So it's Maghrib time. Just give us about 10 minutes maximum, and we'll be back inshallah after Maghrib. Okay.
We carry on after this.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
No. Bismillah. So we moved on. We're talking about the 4 times when an infant spoke. So we know Prophet Isa alayhi salam as an infant spoke. Okay, pointed towards his mother. His mother was told, "You just stay quiet, point towards your son," and he spoke. He spoke about him being a prophet. You've got the second occasion is Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam when he's accused of doing something wrong, and he points towards an infant, and the infant speaks and is a witness for him. Okay, there's a third occasion, which is a long story. I'm not going to go on. Is Juraj. He was a Wali person. He was accused of something, and he actually poked the stomach of the woman, and the child spoke in his favor. Okay, and the fourth one I'm going to talk about now is Firaun's daughter. There used to be a lady who would comb the hair of Firaun's daughter's servant, who would comb the hair of Firaun's daughter, and she dropped the comb and she said, "Oh, you know," she said Bismillah, or she said something of those words, kind of thing. Bismillah, that's a Firaun. Okay, and she goes, and the daughter, Firaun's daughter, said, "Oh, you worship someone else apart from my father?" Goes, "Yes, I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the God of everyone." So then she goes, "Oh, what about if I tell my father about it?" She goes, "I don't care, tell your father." So she tells her father, and the father then calls them into his court, and the woman has 2 sons and obviously a husband, and he brings them all, and he tells her to kind of remember what you said and call me the Lord. And she refuses. So what they do is they bring a big pot of hot boiling water, oil and water, they say, and they throw the husband and the elder son into it, and they just dissolve. And then before, obviously, the young ones are thrown in, because he's trying to tell her, "Look, change now, or we're going to destroy all your family and you." And she wouldn't. Before he's going to throw the young one in, the young infant speaks. Yeah, the young infant speaks. I'm just trying to look where he says. So when they took him, he said, "Mother, fall and do not tarry, for fairly you are on the right." So just giving her kind of strength that you're on the right path. Don't kind of just stick to what you're saying. This is like infant speaking, and then obviously the infant is thrown in, and the lady is thrown in. So that's one of 4 occasions. I'll just mention the occasion that an infant speaks, and the fragrance and the wind that's coming at that point, that was of the sweet scent, and that's of the lady. That's the sweet scent that's coming of that lady. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kind of raised her hand so much for what happened to her. Okay, quickly on this one I'm going to tell, and then we're going to move on. I'm not going to talk about all the other ones. The Prophet ﷺ saw some people whose heads were being shattered, and every time they would return to their original state and be shattered again without a delay. He said, "Oh Jibreel, who are these people?" He replied, "These are the people whose heads were too heavy on their pillows to get up and fulfill their obligatory prayer." Okay, and there's some other ones as well. There's so many things that take place, which I'm not going to mention, obviously, but there's quite a bit. Man swimming in blood, etc., eating this kind of foul. There's good meat, but leaving good meat and eating foul meat. There's so many things that take place at this point. Hellfire is actually shown to the Prophet ﷺ as well, and hellfire speaks out, "Oh my Lord, bring what you have." Paradise and hellfire. So paradise speaks and mentions what you have promised me, bring me that, and hellfire also says, "Oh Lord, give me what you promised me." And like I said, the big narrations on this, detailed narrations on this. The Dajjal, Antichrist, Dajjal in his actual form is shown to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Sahaba were always keen, as people are nowadays as well. How did the Dajjal look? Yeah, and the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that Muhammad's eyes extremely pale and white, and one of his eyes is protuberant as if it were a twinkling star. His hair is like the branches of a tree. and then he mentions one of the people that he resembles. Okay. And then it comes across, and the Prophet ﷺ on his way is called by someone, and he ignores them. And the Prophet ﷺ says, "Who was that?" And he said, "That was Judaism. Jews, Judaism." And then again, same thing happened, and this time it was Christianity. They were calling him, and he ignored all of them. And then there was the dunya calling, and the Prophet ﷺ ignored the dunya. And again, Angel Jibreel mentioned that if you had answered, then your ummah would be just involved into the world as they could. So a lot of things take place at this point. An old man calling him from a distance, telling him to come there, and the Prophet ﷺ does not go. And that's the shaitan calling him, obviously, because he wanted some kind of help as well at that point. And the Prophet ﷺ passes Musa ﷺ, and Musa ﷺ is praying in his grave. Okay, and the description is he was tall with long hair and brown complexion, similar to one of the Yemeni. So Musa ﷺ was like the Yemeni men of pure lineage. He was saying in a loud voice, "You have honored him and preferred him." And the Prophet ﷺ greeted him, and he returned his greeting. Musa ﷺ said, "Who is this with you, O Jibreel?" He replied, "This is Ahmad." So remember, in heaven and all that, Prophet ﷺ was known as Ahmad. That's his name. Okay. Welcome to the Arabian prophet who acted perfectly with his community, and he made an invocation for blessings on his behalf. Then he said, "Ask peace for your community." As they were going, the Prophet ﷺ then asked, who was Musa ﷺ speaking to? In a loud voice. And Angel Jibreel mentioned that he was speaking to his Lord. He said, "He speaks to his Lord like that?" No, this, you don't speak to your Lord like that. And Angel Jibreel said, "Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how he's made Musa. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how he's made Musa, so don't worry about him." Musa, when they give the description, he says he used to have a real hairy chest. He was like a proper man, proper hairy chest, and even if he would wear two vests, you can still see his hair through the two vests. Musa's time he slapped a guy and he died. Musa's had a lot of power. This is why he ran away. I mean, if you read the story of Musa al-Islam, there was an argument between two people, and he kind of gave side for one of them, and he slapped the guy. Some say he slapped the guy, the others say he just pushed the guy and he died. He had so much power, Musa al-Islam. Amazing how Musa al-Islam, if you kind of read into it, is, I mean, all prophets are, but certain ones have got these certain different characters. Musa al-Islam was one of those. And important thing here is that he's not jealous of the Prophet ﷺ, because the prophets can't be jealous. He was more like, firstly, because he was beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he thought, well, can someone be more beloved than me? He's one of those things. He's just, quite astonished. And secondly, is that the Prophet ﷺ will take more people into Jannah than he did. So it's almost like, someone come after me, and you've honored him more than me. He's going to take more people into Jannah than me. So it's one of those things, isn't it? Okay. Okay, let's quickly rest then. We're going to reaching Jerusalem now. We're going to get to the point where they reach Jerusalem, and the Prophet ﷺ dismounts the Buraq and ties the Buraq in a place there. Okay, and at that point, all the prophets gather and line up, and Angel Jibreel takes the hand of the Prophet ﷺ and takes him to the front, and the Prophet ﷺ then leads all of the prophets in prayer. Okay, as we know, the Imam of the prophets. Prophet ﷺ leads all the prophets in prayer. And who leads? The one who's the best. That's who leads, And we covered these things in when we done the module, the prayer modules on the Imam, etc. The best one leads. And then after that, what happens is they all start praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you have Ibrahim al-Islam praises Musa al-Islam, Dawood al-Islam, Sulaiman al-Islam praises the Prophet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Isa ibn Maryam, Prophet Isa praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then after all that, the Prophet then praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he praises the Prophet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the best way possible. Okay. And upon hearing this, Ibrahim al-Islam said, "In this has Muhammad bested you." So Ibrahim al-Islam says to the rest of them, "You all praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala but the Prophet ﷺ has beat you, or almost beat you, but best you. He praised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the best way possible. And then asked about the hour, and Prophet Isa ﷺ speaks a bit about the hour, about certain things will take place. Yajuj Majuj will come, etc. And that's when the hour will come. Okay, I'm sure I'm gonna have to do a talk one of the days on Yajuj Majuj and Dajjal, etc. It just seems to be the kind of one of those topics that everyone just finds fascinating. Okay, now we move on to, we're gonna have to rush a bit now because we've only got 10 minutes, and you guys are so strict with your timings. Is where we go to the 7 heavens now. Okay. You've got a point there. What's happened? The doors open, and remember when I spoke about Judgment Day, and I mentioned every soul entry point is from Jerusalem. That's where the staircase is. It's like a golden staircase that's there. And the Prophet ﷺ is the only person that in body form that has entered through that. It's only souls that enter through that point. The Prophet ﷺ has body and soul entered through that point. It's made of gold. No one has entered this area in body form. Only souls go through. Distance between them. This quick description of heavens. Remember what I said? The heavens aren't like layers of cakes. They're almost like worlds. Okay, but they say between every heaven is like 500 years. Time and all that. That's how much of a distance kind of thing it is. Children, they say, go straight to the 7th heaven. You know, even Muslim children who die at age before puberty, they go straight to the 7th heaven. So we're going to quickly mention. So first of all, is the Prophet Adam al-Islam. And when we talk about Prophet Adam al-Islam, one thing to mention here is this mistake that's always made that, oh, Prophet Adam al-Islam committed a sin and then he was sent to earth. No, prophets can't sin. Some narrations say, one of the strongest narrations say that between Allah telling Prophet Adam al-Islam not to eat from the tree and him actually eating from the tree is something like 100 years past. So it's almost like he just forgot. Okay, some say he just forgot. Okay, but if he did not forget, none of this would have happened. So everything happens for a reason, obviously. Yeah, so that's what you need to understand. But just to clarify that point there. So you've got Prophet Adam al-Islam in the first heaven. So the way it works, and I'm not going to repeat myself here, I'm just going to tell you how it goes. So the angel Jibreel takes Prophet to the gates of the first heaven, knock on the door, and the angel on the other side says, who is it? And angel Jibreel says, angel Jibreel, and says, who's with you? That's a bit of a weird question to ask, isn't it? So they were almost expecting the Prophet ﷺ to come. Because why would you turn around and say, oh, who's with you? Just out of randomly, who's with you? And it says the Prophet ﷺ with them, and then welcome him. So welcome to him from his the angels came to welcome to him from his family. May Allah grant him long life, a brother and deputy, and what an excellent brother and deputy, what an excellent visit this is. The gates open, and the first level is Prophet Adam al-Islam. Prophet Adam al-Islam, when he looks on the right side, he would look and he smiles. When he looks on the left side, he'll look and he would almost cry and feel sad. And then the right side, all those of his children that are going to go to Jannah. And on the left side, all those that are going to go to hell. Okay? And some religions say that from the start, from Prophet Adam al-Islam all the way to the end of time, all the children that are going to go well there. So even those to come ahead as well, not only those that have passed. But I don't want to confuse you more, but you know, when we move on to destiny, etc., we'll talk about stuff like that. We'll move on to the next Aqidah module when you guys decide you want to do it. Okay. So from Prophet Adam al-Islam, the first heaven, he welcomes him, etc. Then we move on to second, and the second, same thing happens. And the second one, it was, I think, actually, yeah, that was it. Prophet Isa al-Islam and his cousin Yahya, okay, Ibn Zakaria. And the description again is given of Prophet Isa al-Islam. They resemble each other in clothing and hair. Each had with him a large company of his people. Isa was curly-haired, of medium build, leaning towards fair complexion, with hair let down as if he were coming out of the bath. Okay, so his hair was like wet. And they described Prophet Isa al-Islam as being Prophet Isa al-Islam is like a Palestinian. Yeah, but they wouldn't never remember I mentioned this about Prophet Isa al-Islam. They would never describe him as being a Palestinian, would they? One thing I want to quickly mention is that when the Prophet ﷺ was seeing so many prophets, certain prophets had no one with them apart from themselves. Certain prophets only had a handful of people. Okay, it's somewhere in the book as well. It's mentioned that you look at, he sees one of the prophets. I think it's Prophet Musa alayhi salam. I think, I don't know what it is, and he sees a large gathering, and then Jibreel tells him to look up, and he sees so many people, and he says, "This is your ummah. Okay, these are the ummah that you're going to take to Jannah." Okay, so different prophets. Don't forget, people. We say times are hard. Prophets saw so many bad times. Certain only kind of managed to have individuals. I think it was Prophet Lut alayhi salam, that only was his wife that became, that followed him. Everyone else, they rejected him. Certain prophets, no one followed them at all. And then the Prophet ﷺ coming at the end. This is the thing about Prophet Musa alayhi salam, that I tried so hard. Look at this, how many people I got. He's come after me, and look how many people he's going to take it to Jannah. You've honored him more than me. What is it? So moving to the third heaven, you got Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam in the third heaven, and all of them say, "Welcome, brother." Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam's beauty was different to the Prophet alayhi salam's beauty. Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam's beauty was more, it was almost like a harmful type of beauty that people lost control over. As you got the story that the women cutting their hands, and he wasn't all cutting their hands. The way the description is given is actually going deep into cutting their fingers and reaching to the bones, and they did not realize. One is just like a paper cut, that's a different thing. But actually continue cutting yourself that you get to the point of your bone and you still don't realize that you're cutting yourself. That was the type of beauty of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam. Whereas the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's beauty wasn't harmful. People would look, and the longer they looked, the easier it became on their eyes. Okay. Because remember, Prophet Yusuf used to kind of cover his face because he was so beautiful, and people used to go kind of mental over it. So you've got Prophet Yusuf, then you've got the next fourth heaven, Prophet Idris alayhi salam. On the fifth heaven was, I think, just quickly going to go through here. Prophet Harun alayhi salam. Half of his beard was white and the other half black. It almost reached his navel due to its length. Surrounding with a company of people, of children of Israel, listening to him as he was telling them a story. Okay, and then you got the sixth heaven, which is Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and the seventh heaven is Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. And Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam is sitting amongst, and he's got children around him. And the narration is that the children around him are those that passed away at a young, before adulthood, and they're sitting there with Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam obviously welcomes the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as, "Welcome, my son." Okay, because remember, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam is known as the father of the religions, because Christianity, Judaism, I can't say that word today, and Islam all kind of branched out from Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, and he was known as the father. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was describing all these prophets, when he got to Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam looked like your prophet, meaning Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam looked the close, most similar to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay. Then you get to the point of Sidratul Muntaha, which is the furthest place that we know of. You get the biggest tree there. Okay, that's the furthest place we know. After that, we don't know what happened after that. We know what it is. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also actually enters paradise. He actually enters paradise. He comes back out of paradise. The only person to enter paradise and come back out of it. Okay, so he enters paradise. It's almost like wandering around all these places, kind of thing. And then you have all this about the sandal of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is where it's come about from, is that when Musa alayhi salam was going to be addressed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's told to remove his sandals. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he keeps his sandals on and he goes all over the place, and that's why we say we're not even like, we put the sandals on our head, and even we're not even capable, or we haven't got that rank of even doing that as well. That's why it's so known as blessed sandals of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so that's the point of where we don't know anything after that in terms of description and all. It is the tree they speak about being so big. In here, he talks about a rider going around it 70 years. Some narrations say 40 days. The point is, it's a massive tree, okay? And each leaf is like they call like a she elephant's ear, and one leaf can enwrap the whole creation within it. So that's how big massive the tree is. Okay, it's not like the one in Avatar. That's quite small compared to this. Okay. Rough, that was the cloud that I mentioned about. That takes the Prophet ﷺ into the presence, because at this point, Angel Jibreel says, I can't go any further. Rough is the cloud that takes the Prophet ﷺ into the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like a twister that goes past, and some narrations are that some scholars say that the body of the Prophet ﷺ stayed there, and only the soul went, because the body would limit everything, but the soul doesn't. And some is that it's both body and soul together. Okay, I'm going to quickly mention here the divine meeting. Okay. Actually, before I do there, I mentioned this actually at Jummah, and I'm going to quickly mention it again. Prophet Ibrahim alayhis salam speaks about, gives certain things to read, his blessings, and one of them was that reading La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim, which I didn't mention obviously, and the other one was Subhanallah walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. So there's two different narrations, and this is what Prophet Ibrahim alayhis salam tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to tell his nation to read, and this is what we get from there. Okay, the divine meeting then. The Prophet ﷺ was taken up to a point where he heard the scratching of the pens writing the divine decree. He saw a man who had disappeared into the light of the throne. He said, "Who is this? Is this an angel?" It was said to him, "No." He said, "Is it a prophet?" Again, the answer was no. He said, "Who is it?" The answer was, "This is a man whose tongue was moist with Allah's remembrance in the world, and his heart was attached to the mosque, and he never incurred the curse of his father and mother." Now, there's a narration of the Prophet ﷺ mentioning that there was one person who was almost a few steps ahead of him all the time. And that person was saying that Bilal. And they asked him, "Well, what do you do special?" He goes, "All I do is that after doing wudu, I just read 2 rakats of shukrana wudu, wudu. He's thankful on wudu, basically. That's the only special thing I do." That's one of the narrations that speaks about that. Then the Prophet ﷺ, sorry, I know we got time. I just want to quickly finish this off, okay? 5 minutes, inshallah, no more. The Prophet ﷺ saw his Lord, the most glorious, the exalted, and he prostrated. At that time, his Lord spoke to him and said, "O Muhammad," he replied, "Twice at your service, O Lord." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Ask." The Prophet ﷺ said, and this is beautiful, mashallah. I just want to quickly read this as it is on there. "You have taken to yourself Ibrahim as an intimate friend, Khalil." That's what intimate friend means, Khalil. "And you have given him an immense kingdom. You have spoken to Musa directly, and have given Dawood an immense kingdom, and softened iron and subjected the mountains to him. You have given Suleiman an immense kingdom, and subjected the jinn and men and devils to him, as well as the winds, and you have given him a kingdom the like of which no one may have after him. You have taught Isa the Torah and Evangel, and made him heal those born blind and the lepers, and raise up the dead with your permission. And you have protected him and his mother from the cursed devil, so that the devil had no path by which to harm them." Allah, and this is the adab, right? The Prophet ﷺ praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and talking about all of the prophets. And then he stops, because the adab is what to stop. You don't stand around and stop praising yourself, okay? And at this point, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then continues. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues and speaks about, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "And I have taken to you myself as my beloved," subhanAllah, "an intimate friend." Remember, the Habib is not the one who kind of loves someone. The Habib is the one who is loved the most. Okay, the beloved. That's what it is. That's the definition of it already. "I have sent you for all people without exception, a bearer of glad tidings and a warner. I have expanded your breast for you and relieved you of your burden and exalted your name, as I am not mentioned except you are mentioned with me. I have made your community the best community ever brought out for the benefit of mankind. I have made your community a mean and a middle. I have made your community in truth the first and the last of all communities. I have made public addresses, al-khutbah, impermissible for your community unless they first witness what you are, my servant and messenger. I have placed certain people in your community with the evangels for hearts. I have made you the first prophet created and the last one sent, and the first one heard in my court. I've given you 7 of the oft repeated which I gave to no other prophet before you. That's Surah Fatiha. Okay, that's powerful surah. I've given you the last verses of Surah Al-Baqarah, which constitutes a treasure from under my throne, which I gave to no other prophet before you. I've given you Al-Kawthar. I've given you 8 lots: Islam, immigration, jihad, charity, fasting, Ramadan, ordering good and forbidding evil. And the day I created the heaven and the earth, I made obligatory upon you and upon your community 50 prayers. Therefore, establish them, you and your community. SubhanAllah. Amazing, especially whenever I read it, it is really, if you want to try to imagine kind of thing, the conversation taking place between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in return Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then praising, oh you Prophet, okay, yes, that's fine, all those that you spoke about, now I'm going to speak about you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's amazing. So, and the Prophet ﷺ then describes about how, and the narrations about how my Lord has preferred me over everyone else. But I'm not going to go into the video time. So quickly, as we finish off, the reward or the gift that's given is prayer, and 50 prayers are given. And the Prophet ﷺ real pleased, and he sets off. He goes past Prophet Ibrahim ﷺ, and when he reaches Musa ﷺ, Musa ﷺ asks him, what was given to you? He says 50 prayers. He says, that's too much for your community. I know. Go back and ask them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reduce it. So then he goes back and refers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what did he do? Only reduces it by 5. Okay? Only reduces it by 5. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is increasing the rank of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just coming out with excuses for him to return every time. Okay? Because straight away he would have said, Allah knows everything. Allah would have said, okay, let's put it down as 5 then. No. Reduced by 5 every time. So 10 times this happens. Even then, Prophet Musa says, reduce it further. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that from 50 we go to 5. Those that pray 5 will get the reward of 50. Those that do one good deed, they get the reward 10 times. Those that do one bad deed only get one bad deed put against them. Okay? And the Prophet ﷺ, I'm ashamed now, I can't go back to my Lord. Yeah? On that final occasion. Yeah? We're probably wishing only if the Prophet ﷺ went back again. Yeah? 5 is too much for us as well. But the scholars say that Prophet Musa wanted the Prophet to go back for his own. You always do something for your own kind of selflessness, and he could see that twinkle, that light in the eyes of the Prophet because he had visited the Lord, and he wanted him to go back and then actually see more of that as it go and come back, Because they say that Prophet Musa when he was addressed on the mountain. After that, he had that same in his eyes because people could not look at his face. He had that light in his face that people could not look at his face, and he had to cover his face from that point onwards. And this is the Prophet ﷺ actually meeting with the Lord. We're going over, but generally speaking, what happens is the Prophet ﷺ then returns back and sets off, and on the way this is caravans. And when he's sitting there, he's sitting down in the morning and he's worried, thinking, how do I tell people what happened? They won't believe me. And Abu Jahl walking past and comes sit next to him and is joking, saying, "Oh, anything special happened?" Like joking, and he said, "Yes, it did. I went to, he said I went to the hallowed house, which is Bethlehem." He said, "Okay." And then you return back overnight? He goes, "Yeah." And Abu Jahl thought, if I turn around and make noise now, the Prophet ﷺ is gonna deny it. So he said, "Will you say that in front of everyone?" He goes, "Yeah." He calls everyone out. He's got something to say. He tells them that I went to the house and I returned back. And they say in one night. Because yeah. And I said, up to this point, everything we would have, you can forgive or it's madness, but this is just the limit now. And this is when I just talked about when they go to Sayyid Abu Bakr Siddiq, and he says that straight away that I believe what he says. And they say, what proof have you got? And he described the 2 caravans as well. And then they say some people had gone to Masjid al-Aqsa, and they said, okay, describe to us. And he just started describing. And they said, how many gates were there? And obviously he didn't count the gates, so he got a bit worried. And then that's when Masjid al-Aqsa is brought in front of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ then starts describing everything, and starts counting the gates and telling this, and this. And they say, well, he described it better, like it was. They spoke about the caravan, and he said the caravan's going to arrive in 4 days, the Prophet ﷺ said. And the 4th day, the caravan hadn't arrived. and he made dua, and the sun is delayed, set by an hour. That's when the caravan arrived, and everything that the Prophet ﷺ described, that's what happened. At this point, actually, a lot of the hypocrites, a lot of people actually apostated, so they left Islam because it was just too much for them to believe. It was just too much for them to believe, with the weak iman, obviously. When we talk generally about prophets, I just want to throw a few things in. When we talk about prophets, they say make the Hajj journey, because we spoke about prophets being in their graves, etc. They make the Hajj journey every year. And that's the belief of Imam Nawawi. A final thing I want to just mention when we finish off on is, there was quite a bit other stuff I wanted to say, but we've run out of time. But the final thing I want to mention about is what Miraj is for us then. Just quickly, 1 minute. And the Miraj for us is what the gift was given. That is prayer. The Miraj for us is our prayer. Okay, our communication, our contact with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's through our prayer. So you need to hold tight onto that and make the most of it. And there's a description of actually how a prayer, certain action you're doing, that's what the Miraj is all about. We need to, I mean, if you take anything else, it was given to us as a gift, treat it as a gift. Prayer was given to us as a gift, treat it as a gift. Don't treat it as a kind of burden. Oh, great. Here we go. Look forward to the fact that it's given, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you an opportunity to communicate with Him, and treat it like that. And if you start to look at it like that and treat the prayer as your Miraj, it will change your prayer. And you got to also remember your prayer needs to be improving every time. And that's the key. So today's prayer should be better than yesterday's prayer. Well, let alone that, this prayer should be better than the last prayer you had. It should be improving. If it's not, then there's something's going wrong. And what the scholars normally say is that always go back to your wudu, because wudu is what the kind of basis is. If your wudu is solid, then everything else builds upon on that. Okay, we leave it at that. Apologies for going over. I did try to rush it through. Fortunately, always the case with these things, I have to always rush them through, because we only have an hour, and I'm trying to just get it straight and get to the main points out there. Okay, with that, like I said, I'll send out a message, but Saturday is the day if you want to keep a fast. So Friday night from Maghrib is when this 27th Rajab. It's a blessed night, blessed day. So increase your ibadah from that night and the day as much as you can. Okay. May Allah make it easy for you. Wa sallallahu sayyidina Muhammad wa barik wa sallam alayhi. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin bi rahmatihi ya arhamar rahimin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.